Here's Iva Schwartz. Here's Iva Schwartz.
Well, welcome to University of Richmond football, top-ranked University of Richmond football, we might add. Of course, it was last Monday that Coach Dal Shealy, his staff, and his players, and the entire University of Richmond community finding out that the Spiders were named the #1 Division I AA football team in the entire nation. Coach, great thing to find out, but again, you don't have much time to enjoy it. You've got to go out and play football on Saturday.
We had to get ready to go to work last week because we had a good skill-type football team coming in, one that we didn't know a lot about, but on film they had potential up front and in all of their skill positions, offensively and defensively. And I think the #1 ranking gave our players really a great motivation for practice, because we had one of the most sound practices that we've had all year last week. And I think you know, our two men here with us today really have done a good job of heading up our offense and our defensive football team.
The two men that Coach Shealy mentioned is offensive coordinator Jim Marshall and defensive coordinator Bill Baker. They are both with us. And Coach Marshall, I think the Spiders went out with this #1 ranking in the proper fashion. They went out and took it on aggressively.
I think you're exactly right, Ivan. They went out there and they knew they heard all the rankings, they read the papers and this, that, and the other thing. They had a job to do, and they went out with the aggressive mind and did the job.
No question about it. A 38-20 win over the Western Illinois Fighting Leathernecks. Coach Baker, the defense went out, and especially psyched, I think, yesterday with that #1 ranking. What was your initial feeling when you found out Monday afternoon?
Well, I was excited just as the players and all the other coaches were. We knew we would be ranked, maybe in the top 10, possibly in the top 5. I think it was a big surprise to us when we were ranked #1, and it just put a challenge to us. I think our players and our coaching staff went to work and proved that we are a #1 football team right now.
And, of course, the first game that the Spiders had to play as a #1 football team in the nation against Western Illinois, the Fighting Leathernecks. And, Coach, this is not one of the Spiders' biggest rivalries. It's the first time the schools have ever met. But were you a little bit surprised? Did you know what to expect? And it looked like the team was fairly well prepared going in.
Well, Ivan, we felt like we knew what to expect from watching film, but they played two different types of game plans offensively. Against Illinois State, they threw the ball about 50 times, and against Michigan Tech, they were about 50-50 on the run-pass ratio. Defensively, we had gotten pretty much their sets. We kind of spent the first quarter getting a recon scout report on them on the field so we could take advantage in the second and third quarter.
All right, let's pick up the highlights of the game yesterday against Western Illinois. In the first quarter of this game was sort of a feeling out period for both teams. Spiders scored 38 points on the afternoon. Big crowd on hand, over 16,000 packing the rafters at U of R Stadium. And Coach Marshall, I think the first quarter was not necessarily indicative of the entire game. Spiders did not have the wind and did not have good field positions. You really couldn't open it up offensively.
That's right, and also, Ivan, as you said earlier, we were going into it to try to feel out what they were doing. Like Coach said there Monday, we spent some time going over a few things that we thought they were going to do. So at the beginning of the ball game, that's exactly what we were trying to find out, to make sure that we could come up with the right plays as the game goes on.
Coach Baker, here's your defense getting the first big turnover. Borum with the hit, and John Coleman picking this one off, recovering the fumble.
He did a great job there of rushing the passer, and then John did a great job of hustling to it. It's a great play here, Ivan. Calvin Bell just tips the ball. Our preseason All-American safety, Taylor, comes up with it and makes a nice return.
Taylor Lackey has picked off one pass in each of the Spiders' first 4 games. That's the old tip drill that you work on so much. And here's the Spiders offensively coming back. A pass interference call. Western Illinois was called 3 times for interference. Here they're working on another All-American, Leland Melvin. And the Spiders moving the football on this drive. This first quarter comes to a scoreless end. But that interception eventually led to some points as we go the opposite way. Pitch to Greg Grooms, and Coach, a pass to your tight end John Henry coming up that sets up the Brendan Tobin field goal.
Right, you know, that run there by Greg, he's running now like he ran last year. I think he's over his injury they had, and then Bob threw just a hair late there, and we missed the connection there on John Henry, but one of those close ones that got away from us, but Brendan came in and is back on track now. Had an excellent week of practice and kicked that field goal right through the uprights. He had a very good day punting and place kicking forward.
Here's a couple of 4-letter words for the Spiders, Rafe and Tuft. Take a look at number 98 and number 94, Brian Tuft and Rafe Wilkinson coming in. And here's a good play coming up, the third straight good defensive series for the Spiders, Rafe Wilkinson, George Borum. Talk a little bit about Randy Harper, Coach Baker. A little banged up yesterday.
Banged up a little bit, but just been a great player for us this year. Great enthusiasm, a leader for us, and so forth, and just been around the football.
Okay, we'll get a progress report on Randy Harper's injury as the week progresses. Here's another one of the interference calls. This one gets the Spiders out of the hole, and again, you mix it up, Coach, the run and the pass.
Right, we felt like that we could go north and south, and by giving a little motion there, you see Brian Shields going in motion. That opened up the throw to Greg Grooms inside, coming out of the backfield, so we were able to do a good job. Bob picking up the coverage, and here he makes a great check off at the line of scrimmage, and with that check goes to Leland Melvin for a touchdown, and that was a very good play that we were heads up on and picking up the blitz.
Here's the replay, Coach Marshall. Talk a little bit about this offensive scheme for the Spiders.
Well, what they're doing, Ivan, they're running a pro defense, and they've got those 4 down people just like you see on Sunday afternoons, and they're turning them loose. Bob saw the coverage and checked off and just went right over there in that void where they were weak and just sent Leland down there.
Second straight possession, the Spiders put some points on the board. As a matter of fact, they put points on 6 straight possessions. Here's Ellison Graham after a great pass rush. Defensive lineman's dream, Coach Baker.
One of the, you know, we've had that happen to us last year and this year also, and I think a defensive lineman to have a chance to oski the football is just a great thrill.
Remember last year against Colgate, it was Steve Lester picking one off on the goal line and rambling it in for 6 points. Here's the Spiders' next TD drive. Danny Holly setting up his own score here with a nice run, Coach Shealy, down to about the 2.
Danny's a good short yardage runner, strong legs, and here he blasts in, breaks tackles, follows his blocking very well, and David Baer in the offensive line there, Courtney Williams, George Teresova, Mike Kraft, and Tate, they all open the hole up very well for us to get in.
Spiders up 17-0, third straight possession they score. Now, Western Illinois got the ball back to end the first half, and they used this strange flea flicker play here. Did this give them some momentum going into the locker room, the ability to move the football right before the half?
Well, we felt like it probably did. That was one of the things we talked about as a staff, is that they finished up the half moving the football, so we were glad we had the option for the second half so we could choose the ball and not give them the ball coming off of some successful plays at the end of the first half.
Spiders led after the first half 17-0, and they put 2 more touchdowns on the board to start the second half before Western Illinois even knew what hit them. We'll come back and we'll check out the second half highlights. We'll also chat with Coach Baker, Coach Marshall, and the president of the University of Richmond, Dr. E. Bruce Heilman, who had some lovely things to say about the Spider football program. That's all next.
Hi, I'm David Baer. As an athlete, I appreciate the support and assistance I receive from the coaches, alumni, and friends of the Spiders. As a student pursuing my master's degree, I appreciate the support and assistance I receive from my professors and the rest of the faculty. Your support of the Spider Athletic Fund will help over 300 student athletes bring pride and recognition to the university through intercollegiate athletics. So join the team behind the teams. Support the Spider Athletic Fund.
This message brought to you by U-Crops.
Thank you very much.
You know, I'm so disappointed in my dentures. They've never fit properly or felt comfortable.
There's a world of difference between quality denture service and so-called economy dentures. I'm Dr. Alan Bridge, and simply stated, there's no substitute for quality materials, skill, and above all, patient satisfaction. Before buying economy dentures, please give us a call.
For all your dental needs, call Dr. Alan Bridge, 740-7288.
Thursday, September 26th, Hurricane Gloria comes critically close to the coast of North Carolina and Virginia. WTBR News 6 is there, the only Richmond station bringing you live reports from both the Outer Banks and Tidewater. Throughout the night, News 6 tracks the storm's approach, providing Central Virginians with the most up-to-the-minute and accurate coverage of Hurricane Gloria's activity. When Virginians need to know, they turn to WTBR News 6. Number 1 in news.
Like going around with me?
And the awesome ZX. Nissan dealers are making sports car deals like crazy.
Anything popular and beautiful is expensive.
Wrong. It's Nissan's last chance sell-off.
In September?
They're going for their all-time sales record, but their year ends September 30th. That day, they want their lots clear. With that and these, everyone can afford a ZX, a 200SX,
or Pulsar Sport, but before September 30th.
Car buying doesn't get any better than this.
Oh, don't miss out.
Go for it at your Central Virginia Nissan Datsun dealer.
You know, it's pretty easy to say the University of Richmond football team is number 1. It's a lot more difficult to achieve. And It is very easy to say, Coach, Richmond Spiders are #1, but what are some of the implications that come along with a top ranking in the entire nation?
Well, I think some of the maybe first reactions, I know alumnus made a comment to me Monday evening, that he wished that we maybe had been ranked 4th or 5th or somewhere down the line, and my comment is we'll take #1 anytime and every time we can get it, and we need to be excited about it and not trying to hide it. He said, well, don't you wish the season would end right now if that's ranked #1? Our season will end in a few weeks, and we hope we'll rank #1 at that particular point in time. But that kind of fit in with Dr. David Burhan's chapel service with us yesterday, and that one guy that had the one talent took and hit it in the ground. So if you want to hide and sit on your #1 ranking, you really are going to lose it. But the thing you have to do is to be willing, like the guy with the 2 talents or 5 talents, to go out and invest that ranking, and in making that investment, you have an opportunity to double it and really prove that you're worthy of handling the little details so the big championship can come on later on. So you don't put the cart before the horse, but you take it as you get it, and you're thankful for it, and you work to keep it. And our players and our staff really did a great job of keeping things in perspective all week long.
When you talk about investment, I think, Coach Marshall, you're talking about maybe an investment for the future, perhaps, and with that comes some of the recruiting implications of being #1. What do we look at in the next couple of weeks as far as that's concerned?
Well, I think anytime you have high ranking like that, Ivan, recruiting, you have to think about that. But right now, the way the NCAA rules are, the wins help recruiting. The high ranking helps recruiting. But the investment, I think Coach and Dr. Burhans was talking about, is just our guys. I mean, they've got #1. There's nothing you can do about it. Everybody reads it. The recruits, parents, everyone reads it. It's just a matter of how do you handle it. And I think that's the key right now, just as long as you keep working, doing the same things you've done all year.
Okay, Coach Baker, how about walking around the campus this week? Did you see a renewed enthusiasm, perhaps?
You really did. Our campus was lively this week, and our community, everything this week was just exciting. And I think the #1 ranking certainly brings that on, and we're getting right now just great support, and I want everybody to continue.
We had an opportunity to take our cameras out on the University of Richmond campus this week. We spoke to some very enthusiastic and happy students, some faculty members who are also buzzing with enthusiasm, and also the president of the University of Richmond, Dr. E. Bruce Heilman, who had some great things to say about Coach Dal Shealy, his staff, his players, and everything in the Richmond sports community.
Excited, of course, about the university in many, many ways. I stay excited about it, but that brings it out to the public because you're there excited with the public. It was an exciting time. It was last year in the playoffs in football. It is every game we win. I've been through those weekends when we didn't, and I can tell you it's not very satisfying. No president likes to lose in anything, and it's certainly been exciting. I went out yesterday afternoon, John Roush and I, to the football field, just going out there and standing around watching and getting the feeling that the student athlete feels sort of a self-confidence and a self-assurance and a well-being, and chatting with Coach Shealy, who deserves to get some pats on the back. He got a lot of kicks in other part of his posture as a result of the fact that we were building, and it takes time, and a win and a loss is just very little different. And that's the situation we were in. And I felt like, and the team felt like, and the coaches felt like, and all those who really had the commitment to make it happen 2 years ago, that we were just short of moving into a very excellent program. Maybe not realizing 2 years later we could be 1 week ranked. I hope many weeks we might be ranked this way. But it is a very fulfilling experience. And it's more fulfilling because it's just a part of the total of the university's successes.
I think there's a great sense of satisfaction coming out of it. I think there's a great sense of enthusiasm and excitement. I must candidly admit that I believe there it's tempered a bit by the reality of the situation, that one knows that this takes a lot more effort and energy to stay there, if we can stay there. It's quite a change also going from the hunter to the hunted, and I think that tempers it quite a bit, so it's not a complete state of euphoria.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, the University of Richmond's come a long way, and a lot of these team members and everything have been on the downslide for so many years. I think it's great to be on a winning team.
I feel it's going to raise school spirit tremendously and create a better football program for University of Richmond.
Oh, I think it's just great. I'm really good friends with a lot of the players, and they work hard, and they really deserve it.
Oh, we're really proud, and it gives us something to do on weekends to go watch them win. Well, it's a lot better than when we were freshmen. When I was a freshman, we were 0-10, and it beats the hell out of going to the team play, even if it's a lower division, at least play to win. And now we're ranked #1. It makes it a lot more enjoyable to go out and play and read the scores on the line and during the Saturday games.
And that gentleman, along with quite a few other Spider fans, were at this past Saturday's game, the 38-20 win over Western, not only putting a few more points on the board, but also giving everybody an opportunity to play. So when we take a look at these second half highlights, I think Coach Marshall and Coach Baker and Coach Shealy are going to come up with some names that we're going to see quite a bit in the future in the University of Richmond football program. So let's pick up those second half highlights, Coach. And this is where Richmond was all set to just open it up.
We came out with our first possession, and that was a great way to start because we took that first possession of the second half and moved down for the score. Here's Danny Holly coming back off of good blocks by Kraft and Williams and taking it for 15 yards and getting us in good field position with Bob Blyer, then hitting Brian Shields for a good quick one, as Brian did a good job reading man coverage and adjusting his pattern on sight adjustment. And Bob picked up the throw with the red dot accuracy that we talk about in practice.
That's the 5th straight possession that the Spiders were able to score. Overall, Richmond took the ball 6 times in a row and put points on the board. Coach, when was the last time you can remember that ever happening anywhere?
Well, I don't remember, frankly, but I'm glad we did it 6 times in a row, and just wish we'd gone ahead that 7th time. We had the opportunity and had good field position, but turned it over, trying to work things a little bit to advantage of setting the records. But here our defense did a great job of holding, forcing the field goal, and then putting pressure on, and Greg Groom comes back in with good running out behind the offensive line, coming off the ball very well. And now we have a big throw here that you can see right there, number 24, interfering with James Church. And the defensive interference penalty, instead of giving us the ball there, was a 10-yard penalty and first down. Here's Leland Melvin making a great catch and putting us in field position for another score.
Leland, of course, 1 catch away now from breaking the all-time record set by Walker Gillette as far as career receptions are concerned. David Baer here takes it down into scoring territory and then plunges it in for the 6 points himself. Richmond up 31-0 after Brendan Tobin's extra point. Brendan again perfect in the place kicking department. And again, it's your defense, Coach Baker, that comes through here a couple of plays in a row. And every time Richmond scores, it seems as though the motion is really just fired up on your defensive side of the football.
They're jumping around good right now, Evan, and hustling to the football. And we tell them if they go to the ball, good things are going to happen. And this is just 2 examples of that. Gary Sturgar making a nice play there, and Rafe and some others before.
And take a look at this one. Damon Miller reading the screen pass perfectly. Boom.
Great hit. Damon, I think we were in a man coverage there, and he read it. He read his man and went to him and just made a great hit on a great play.
And here's John Armstrong returning the kickoff. And he takes it to the sideline very nicely. We're going to take a look at the stats this week. He didn't get an opportunity to really break one yesterday, Coach Shealy.
Not as far as the punt returns are concerned, but this was a very good kickoff return of about 35 yards. Got the ball at the 45-yard line. Doug Height comes in, finds Leland Melvin, and that particular catch right there tied the school record for career receptions. Leland with All-American Walker Gillette, who was a first-round draft choice back in the early 70s. Here's Glenn Bensley, big fullback, taking a pass from Doug, about 15, 20-yard gain there to the 1, and then takes it in himself, standing up for the score.
And Ned Anell comes in and adds his 2nd point of the season. He came in and kicked one last week against VMI. 38-7, the Spiders up at this point. And in the 4th quarter, again, quite a few new faces and a new quarterback for Western Illinois. It was pretty impressive considering, but that time the Spiders got to him.
Howard Fonstall, got a lot of new kids in here now. They're going to see a lot of action in weeks to come, and I thought we did a nice job right here and the next series along, really staying with Western Illinois.
Here's another one of you young players, Coach Baker, Jeff David, who recovers the fumble right here.
Jeff has come along and played a lot for us. A great hit there by 3 or 4 of our players, and Jeff coming and hustling to the football and got it.
And our highlights will end with a great defensive stand at the goal line. Western Illinois had no place to go. George Borum with the stop there. This is the 3rd down play, and they go for it on 4th down, and Kim Pettis comes up with the fumble recovery. So I think this was the icing on the cake, Coach Shealy, for a great win. The defense playing well down the stretch.
They had first down and goal at the 1, and we held them 4 downs there, and it was a great goal line stand.
38-20 is the way the ball game comes to an end. The Spiders, as we said, now 4-0 for the first time since 1973. 12 years ago, incidentally, Richmond went 6-0 and they'll try to make it 5 next week against James Madison. Foreman Field for the Oyster Bowl against James Madison University. And Coach Baker, that team this year, a new coach, some renewed enthusiasm, and I think most importantly for your Spider defense next week, a new offense.
Yes, we'll face the wing T. You know, we face a lot of offenses all year, and the wing T we've faced before. And right now, our players, this is a big game for us. It's one that we've looked forward to and tried not to jump ahead on, but it's a game we're looking forward to and excited about.
Last year, the Spiders clobbered JMU 43-12. It was the season opener in Harrisonburg. Coach Marshall, next week's game, we head to the other part of the state, the Tidewater area. How's that going to affect recruiting? Are you going to get a lot of prospective players to come and watch the top-ranked Spiders?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, as far as the recruiting goes, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people there. And the Tidewater area is a big area. Now for us, we have quite a few boys on our ball club from that area. So the thing we've got to do now is just play. You know, go down there and play like we've been playing and let the people see what we have. And that's the key right now, is us just getting ready to play.
Attitude-wise, Coach Shealy, how is it going to be the second week the Spiders are #1? Is it going to be a little bit easier?
Well, we should handle it stronger, I would feel, and we're going to have to, because we're playing an interstate rivalry, and one that, from what we hear and understand, is very important to JMU, so it's got to be just as important to the University of Richmond. And playing in Oyster Bowl is certainly an honor for both teams, and we want to make sure we do our part to uphold our, not only our ranking, but our in-state competition and climb to greatness within the state.
You think James Madison is going to be a little intimidated this past week, facing Stan Yagiello of William & Mary, who tore apart their secondary, and maybe a similar quarterback in Bob Blyer, who can throw equally well?
Well, I don't know whether they'll be intimidated or not. They're going to be fired up. I know that's one thing. Coach Pazicki has a great reputation of getting the most out of his players, having them fired up and playing vicious, and I'm sure that if there's one game on his schedule he'd like to win, it's going to probably be this one. So we're going to have to be as good as we can be and expect a very hard-fought football game.
Okay, there you saw it, 43-12. The Spiders beating James Madison last year, but as we said, completely new look for the Dukes this year. So we hope to see you out at Foreman Field for the Oyster Bowl. That game will be Saturday afternoon. And if you can't make it out to the ballpark, as they say, we'll see you here Sunday afternoon with all the highlights as the Richmond Spiders try to make it 5-0. The top-ranked Richmond Spiders trying to hold on to that #1 ranking. We'll see you next week.
This has been the University of Richmond Football Show. Brought to you by Ucrop Supermarkets.